Yep, I'm in my new place now, and here I shall be for the time being. So now let's talk about this brand new Dave Filoni-directed 5th episode of Ahsoka, which has now dropped on Disney+, and this is the big one. After how last week's episode ended with the big Hayden Christensen Anakin Skywalker appearance, everyone for the past week's been like, oh my god, next week's episode is gonna be huge. So big in fact that some people are even gonna get to see it in theaters, you lucky dogs. I watched it here at my new place. So now let's finally talk about it with spoilers. Huge spoilers, of course you know this. If you have not yet watched part 5 of Ahsoka and you plan on it, do not watch this video because I will be talking about a lot of details of what goes down in this episode. If you have watched it or you don't care about Star Wars that much, that's okay. The Force is still with you. You can stick around. Alright, so let's get started here. So I'm gonna start off by saying that we never really get a clear explanation as to what this Anakin is here in the World Between Worlds that we see. He's obviously not a Force ghost, so I'm just gonna take a crack at it. This is either a self-manifestation from Ahsoka herself, like what Ahsoka wants to see in her subconscious or something, or this is a manifestation of the living Force speaking to her in this way, telling her what she needs to hear in this moment. That's probably what it is, given that this is the World Between Worlds, you know, a place really powerful with the Force. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that that's what this is. Also, how we got here in the first place, I guess this planet Cetus is, like, again, also powerful with the Force. And like Haley Kiyoko once sang, there's something in the water. That's not really answered, but I can pass that off as a trivial detail. So apparently, this manifestation of Anakin Skywalker is here to teach Ahsoka Tano a lesson. I'll say it's pretty cool to see Anakin and Ahsoka fighting in live action. That's never a bad thing. I'll touch more on the Anakin and Ahsoka thing in a little bit, cause back on the surface, we got Hera, Jason, Chopper, Huyang, and Carson Teva. They're in the map area, they're trying to figure out what's going on. We do learn that they are being covered by Senator Organa. I love that. Leia getting a name drop. I am hoping that we never see a recreation of Leia again. I mean, for Luke it made sense, but Carrie Fisher is no longer with us, you know? So it just wouldn't feel right. I'm just thinking out loud right now. And we also see that little Jason Syndulla here is completely really Force skilled, cause he hears in the waves, he's like, yeah, I hear lightsabers clashing, and he's like, Mom, can't you hear it? And so Hera takes a listen, and I'm like, okay, what, now Hera can be Force skilled as well? Again, I know that everyone can feel the Force to some degree, but like Ahsoka said last week, skill is a factor. Just because Hera was in a relationship with a Jedi doesn't mean she suddenly has tremendous Force skill. So I kinda call BS that Hera could hear the lightsabers as well, but loved hearing that cameo from John Williams' Force theme. Da, 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 da. Again, great job Kevin Kiner on that, and Dave Filoni, who directed this, great call. And yeah, when Carson asks what just happened, we get another name drop, cause Huyang is like, Jason has special abilities. His father, Kanan Jarrus, was a Jedi. I was like, yes! Finally, that Kanan name drop, we knew it had to happen at some point, given the characters. It took 5 episodes, but we finally got it. Awesome. Alright, now back to the World Between Worlds, cause it's now time for some good old-fashioned fan service nostalgia member berries. Which of course, as a Star Wars fan, I love seeing it all, but as a fan of good storytelling, I was like, alright, is this really necessary? I'd say it is, absolutely. Starting off with the Clone Wars flashback. Yeah, back to their very first mission. I think this was the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie, with our young Ahsoka, played here by Ariana Greenblatt. Great to see her getting her name out there this year. Yeah, in the movie 65, which wasn't good, but then in Barbie, now the highest grossing movie of the year, and now in Ahsoka. This kid, yeah, look out for her name in the near future, hopefully. Cause she does a great job in this episode as young Ahsoka. And now talking about the Anakin and Ahsoka dynamic in these flashbacks, or I guess they're semi-flashbacks because even though that is young Ahsoka in appearance, she still has the mind of our current Ahsoka. Whatever. But if for nothing else, seeing Anakin and Ahsoka in live action is like super proof that yes, the Clone Wars animated show and Rebels, it is all canon. It did happen in the Star Wars timeline. This is now the best proof we have of that. I'm just saying. And seeing Anakin in his Clone Wars getup and their relationship, I'm like, yeah, this is Star Wars fan heaven. And then Anakin goes off and he flashes to Vader for a second. I was like, oh, that was cool. Then we get to the Siege of Mandalore, which we remember was the Clone Wars finale, which I still think those last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, they are like top tier Star Wars. So yeah, let's flash back to that. Now Ahsoka has her blue lightsabers. In the first flashback, she had the green ones. Yeah, again, I was like, wow, that is taking me back. Even though, again, I didn't really watch Clone Wars until a few years ago. But yeah, now she's got the blue lightsabers, we're in the Siege of Mandalore, we get an awesome cameo from Captain Rex. I was hoping to see him in this show, and so we see Rex in his armor, it's pretty much just a voice cameo from Tamura Morrison. We never see his face, even though there are other clones around, they're all in their masks, or if they're dead, they have their heads wrapped up. I guess Tamura Morrison was too busy filming something else, so he just recorded his voice and sent it in. Alright, that's fair enough. And I guess the whole point of these flashbacks is that Ahsoka feels partially guilty for all the death that she left behind, going off of what Baylan Skoll said last week, that her legacy is nothing but death and destruction. Which, alright, now that is actually making sense for me. That did trigger her in the last episode. Okay, yeah, I actually just figured that out for myself just now. That is what the Living Force is trying to tell her, that she is not responsible for all that death. You can choose to live and move on from it, or die and be overcome with grief. As one of my all-time favorite movie quotes goes, we never lose our demons, Mordo.
We only learn to live above them.
That is what Ahsoka has to learn here. I love that shit. And now I'm wondering if she feels responsible for Anakin Skywalker's fate. They probably went over that in Rebels, I might have forgotten, but it is touched on again here because this does lead into the second Vader flash, which is also just awesome, and a fight between Ahsoka and Darkside Anakin, who was pretty much Vader at that point. You know, he's got the yellow burned up eyes, the red lightsaber. That's fucking awesome. It's Ahsoka fighting her guilt. And this is where she learns. She throws away her lightsaber. She's like, I choose to live. Looking back now, I'm like, yes, all right. Way to learn your lesson. And so she goes back to reality. She's in the water. She has her Man of Steel moment. And she wakes up the next day, I think it is, without her headpiece. That was kind of weird to see. I don't know, just seeing Ahsoka without her headpiece was never in my Ahsoka bingo card. That was kind of weird, not gonna lie. But then, and so she comes out in her white robes. And I was like, okay, so now she is Ahsoka the White. She pretty much went through not only what Gandalf went through, but also Elsa in Frozen 2, undergoing some big life-changing thing and coming out wearing all white, straight up what Gandalf and Elsa went through. Now we can add Ahsoka Tano to that list. And you gotta think that is an homage to Lord of the Rings. You think Dave Filoni was like, yeah, that's totally intentional? I'm pretty sure. And so she's like, alright, I think I can find out how to find Sabine. And she goes to the map site. Now, we've seen her do this a couple of times before in this show, but now it's pretty much confirmed she is using psychometry, which is the ability to sense like echoes from the past with the Force. I know of this ability because that's what Cal Kestis has in the Star Wars Jedi games, Fallen Order and Survivor. So that is a thing in canon. It's just cool to know that now Ahsoka has that ability too. I buy it, of course, completely. And so that's when she figures it out. She's like, ah, shit, she was taken by the baddies. And as if that's not bad enough, Mon Mothma contacts Hera and informs her that her command is in jeopardy. She says the council's going over whether they even want to keep Hera in the New Republic or not. So yeah, Hera's career is in jeopardy. That's not good. Although if I am thinking ahead, I'm sure the return of Ezra and Thrawn will save her. Cause let us not forget, the Ghost is present in The Rise of Skywalker, so, I mean, then again, maybe it wasn't being flown by Hera, but in any case, I'm sure Hera will be okay. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see. I do gotta give props to Carson Teva for stalling that oncoming New Republic fleet for as long as he could. He's all trying to front like, yeah, that's classified information. What are you guys doing here? I mean, yeah, he does eventually cave, but I still want to give him props for holding them for as long as he could. He held his own. Good for him. So how are we gonna track down Sabine anyway? Oh, look! A huge flock of Purrgil. That's convenient. But convenience aside, this was pretty fucking awesome. Visual effects wise, it was great. And after Ahsoka Force talks to the mother of all Purrgil, they pretty much agree. We're like, alright, we'll take you into hyperspace. And so we go inside the whale's mouth. I was like, alright, Finding Nemo style. Yeah, I'm sure that's what everyone thought of. So yeah, we go inside the Purrgil's mouth, and Hu Yang's like, they're gonna take us to where Ezra is, right? And Ahsoka's like, I have no idea. I was like, wait, what? What, so you're telling me there's a chance that we could end up somewhere completely different? That'd be such a waste of time. We only have 3 episodes left. I'm hoping the next episode is not like, oh, we end up somewhere completely different and now we're stuck here and we have to find a way to get back. That would be lame. That would be such filler. I'm hoping they just take us to where Ezra and Thrawn and Sabine and everyone are so we can move on with the story. Here's hoping, man. And so, off we go. And that is where our 51-minute episode ends. Holy shit. This was a lot of big stuff. We got some great fan service. We got a good lesson along with it. This episode was completely awesome. So now I know I've done this before, but this episode has called for me to do it again. Let us all praise Lord Dave Filoni for directing this episode. That is well deserved. And so now I am hopeful, if not anxious, for the rest of the show, more specifically next week's episode. I'm just hoping it's not, we end up somewhere else and we gotta get back on track. None of us need that filler, but we'll see what happens. So Ahsoka, Part 5, Shadow Warrior. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? What was your favorite scene in this episode? And what are your theories and predictions for next week? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!